Oh, you picked Verso? So you just hate Lunel. You just hate Gustav. So you just hate SK. I see how it is. I see how it is. No. Don't try to argue. Don't try to argue. I see how it is. You don't need to explain. Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host today, Gaming Legion. You can call me Legion. You can call me Jacob, whichever you prefer. Welcome back. Claire Obscure Expedition 30-fucking-3, baby. Holy shit. No glaze, but full cum loads of fucking, oh my god, this game. Is that a wild saying? Nah, that's fine. We're good. But this game is amazing. I absolutely fucking love this game. And while this was supposed to be a video talking about the game and how much I love it, I wanted to talk about this more, but it's still Claire Obscure related, so I wasn't technically lying in the last video when I said that this was going to be a Claire Obscure video. I'm not lying, just stretching the truth. But the next video will be talking about how I love the game Claire Obscure Expedition 33. But one thing I really want to talk about before I can even get into how much I love the game is how much I love the ending of the game, or the two endings, the debate between which one is better, which one is worse. Oh my god, it's tantalizing. I thought I would do a little funny haha because I'm like, oh, let's blow up on TikTok a bit, which did indeed happen, I guess, if you count like about 100,000 views, like, you know, blowing up. But I made a TikTok, a nice little lighthearted TikTok joking video talking about, oh, who would you choose, Maelle, or Verso? And I said I'm choosing Maelle because of Gustav. That's the only reason I even put in there. And oh my god, never have I seen so many chronically online people in a comment section on both sides. Although the amount of Verso dick riders in there, holy shit. Taking a lot of nuance out of the game, a lot of philosophical questions out of the fucking game, and in my opinion, taking a lot of fucking empathy out of it. But then you also got like Alicia, Maelle fans who are kind of, you know, off in their own world as well. But spoilers, by the way, for the very end of Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Didn't know if you could tell by like the title or anything. Spoilers. But this debate is probably one of my favorite debates in all of gaming, on a moral level, on a philosophical level, like on an ethical level. It's so interesting. I love it. Like I said before, there's so much nuance and like things to think about, and like your opinions on the world itself that go into this game. Not even just the world of Claire Obscure, our world. Like it's so fucking cool. I love those debates, mostly just because I think it's really fun to talk about philosophical stuff. But like, so while some comments on both sides make me want to pull my fucking hair out while I'm reading them, I've thankfully stepped away. I've stepped away and just let people take it on themselves to say dumb shit or say some good shit. And I thought, let's come here, let's compile it, and let me tell you guys about some of my opinions on some of these as well, and where do I stand in this debate. Before we start giving out any information on this, there is no good or bad ending. There is no canon ending to the game. The ending of the game is just the ending of the game, whichever one you pick, but there is no canon ending. Neither of them are the true ending. That is at least until the next game. Maybe they're doing an anthology like Final Fantasy series, maybe they're doing a prequel, maybe they're doing a sequel, or one of them does become canon. But as of right now, and according to what the lead writer said, there is no canon ending. It is meant to be left up to interpretation, so that whatever people think their life experience is, their moral code, they can influence that into which ending they like more. And for all the Verso dick riders, his has bad shit too, especially if you want to go down Assumption Road, which is a lot of what we kind of have to do here. If you go down Assumption Road, there is easily ways that Verso's is bad as well. You're not the moral high ground here. Let me also say, Alicia is not the moral high ground here either. There is no moral high ground. Until we get a lot more of these questions answered, there is no moral high ground. But I'm going to be very honest, I'm kind of biased towards Alicia, so if it comes off in this video, it's pretty fucking blatant. I can even tell in my questions, but still, a lot of the points I got from this video were ones that I've thought of, or ones that I saw in the comments of that video, and I'm like, you know what, that's fair, let me throw that in here. And there was not a lot of diversity in the Verso defense. There weren't a lot of different points outside like one or two. And let me say this one more time before I even get started. we do not know everything. There is a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of new questions that got up in both endings, a lot of plot holes that are probably just being saved for future games to answer them. And a lot of this stuff is up to your own interpretation and your own assumptions. Some of the stuff I'm going to be saying here will be my interpretation or my assumptions of the topic, the character, whatever. So not everything that I'm going to say in this video is this is what happened in the game, and I will try to let you know when it is going to be an interpretation or an assumption. One that I've seen going around that really isn't going to touch on anything in this video too much, but I still want to mention it, is the writers. The writers had maybe 3 lines of dialogue anywhere, 3 lines of dialogue. They don't even have like a journal entry. They don't have any text written anywhere. It is 3 lines of dialogue between Alicia and Clea, or something around 3. And all it really boiled down to was there's another group called the writers, and they may have influenced Alicia into starting the Manor Fire. That's all we know. I've seen so many people talking about, oh, the writers are just like a higher level of the painters, where the writers are writing the story that the painters are in, and then the painters are painting the canvas that, you know, the expedition is in, and that's what the writers are. We don't fucking know that. In fact, if that is true, it makes some of the points for Verso kind of more obsolete, especially in terms of what constitutes a real person, because kind of Matrix shit, well, if the writers are writing the story, then even the painters don't fucking matter. They're not real people. I'll touch on that later. But what I believe, this is my assumption, is the writers are just in the same world as the painters, and they're just another mystical force. I don't believe they're another higher entity. I think they're just another powerful entity alongside the painters. But again, that's just an assumption. We don't even know that. Just one of the examples I wanted to give you on stuff that is assumptions and people have been assuming shit and saying it is fact. We don't know. You don't know. I don't know. I don't even think the writers technically know because they haven't thought that fucking far ahead. All right. Let's get into the video, and before we even get into some of these questions, we gotta establish what are the sides here. Again, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you've probably played the game, you've been and watched at least one of the endings, preferably both, so that this will all make a little more sense to you. But you probably have the general gist of both sides, and let me explain them again just in case you forget. Alicia's side, her whole thing is she wants to stay inside of the canvas. She wants to live in a world that gives her a life. Back in her old world, she was blind in one eye, she was burned, she was mute, she was essentially like restricted to home, where seemingly, this is an assumption, she doesn't have any friends. So being in the canvas gives her a life. It lets her do something. She can speak up for herself. She can actually go out and do things. She's not like bedridden, essentially. Next point is that she can protect the world she grew up in for 16 years, which we assume she was around 16 before she went into the canvas. So a second half of her life, she has lived in this canvas and literally lived a whole new life. So she wants to stay, protect that world, and protect her friends that are all in that world. And assumingly, more friends than she even had in her old world. And I will get into the consequences later, but she is able to still live with her brother, one that she inadvertently killed in that fire, if we assume that the writers actually did pressure her, like control her into starting the fire. She killed her brother and made him die earlier than supposed to be. So being in the canvas allows her to get that time back with her brother. She can still be with him, because at least from what I've seen, it seemed like they had a good relationship, you know, before the canvas and everything. Now, some of the cons to Alicia's side, I'm on her side, but I realize there's problems. The first and, biggest one is she is running away from her problems with this. One big theme about this game is the theme of escapism, escaping reality and going to somewhere else to find the meaning. And in this one, she is just running away from Verso's death by keeping the canvas alive, by keeping him alive. She is just running away from the fact that Verso is dead in the other world. On top of that, she is forcing Verso's soul to stay alive. When he wants to rest and let his family move on, she is forcing him to stay alive and keep the family separated, essentially. And then there is the other point on Alicia will technically die faster, but time is actually not one-to-one in these worlds, but that'll be a later point. Next up here is Verso. Verso wants to destroy the canvas. He wants to let the piece of his soul rest, which, in my interpretation, the piece of his soul, the faded boy at the end there, is not supposed to be a physical representation of his soul, or I guess that is the physical representation, but it's really supposed to be a metaphor for letting Verso as a whole rest and letting the family move on. So it's not literally letting his soul rest, it is letting the family move on. That's what my interpretation of what all that means. Letting the, I think it's Dessendre family, move on from Verso and finally get out of this grief. Some of the cons here are that Alicia now has to go back to her body, which fuck all the character development you just had in this game. She has to go back to a body where she can't speak for herself. She's too weak to do anything. Again, she's blind in one eye. She basically is just living, as she was saying. And then another big one that I think a lot of people are either skipping over or, you know, their stance on this is different from my own. Mommy Lune dies, Mommy Shuold dies, SK dies, Daddy Minoko dies, Noko dies again if you did Minoko's relationship quest, Francois dies, Golgra dies, all the Gestrals, everybody that was in Lumiere. And the worst of all, you do not get Gustave back. I think you are, like, that point alone, I think can tell you which one you need to be picking here. Which one is the absolute moral right. Gustave doesn't come back, you already know that that's the moral wrong when Gustave doesn't come back. Okay, I'm joking, but everybody is going to die. Depending on how you think of the world and the people in there, you're essentially genociding the whole thing. Now, I will not be trying to make connections to the real world in terms of genocide, because I think saying somebody picked a video game character's side and then equating that to Nazi Germany is a little fucking wild. So we're not going to be making comparisons like that here. Just because somebody picked to genocide the whole thing, I'm not comparing it to fucking Germany or any fucking other country that did something like that in the past. We're not doing that here. Because while a lot of these questions that I have coming up do connect to how you think of stuff in real life as a person, there is that separation of this is also a video game. People are going to have like different ideas about a topic depending on what it's related to. And when it's related to a video game, they're not going to care as much because, contrary to popular belief, a lot of people don't see a fake character and they think, oh my god, they deserve a right to live. Most people are like, I don't care, it's a video game character. So we're not getting into that. But starting off with the first question here, what we are going to get into is, are the painted people real people, and what constitutes a real person? Obviously, I'm not talking about real life real, but within the game's, you know, parameters, within the game's whole story and setting, do you consider the painted people to be real people? What is a real person in that sense? Is it sentient life, the ability to think for yourself? Because they are all easily able to think for themselves. The painters aren't there, like, twisting their minds and making them think what they think. One question that actually stems off of this is sentient life, being able to think for yourself, does that include AI? And that was a whole thing that I had in my computer science ethics class just this past semester. Literally, I think it was like the second or third week where we were talking about, does AI, like, could AI be considered a person? If it's advanced enough, of course. Right now, if you're talking about like current day AI, no. But futuristic AI, you know, the ones from the movies where they're able to like be super sentient, they have emotions and stuff. Where does you draw that line? I did see a lot of people saying, well, these characters are just like ChatGPT, they're bots. And I said, whoa, you did not play the fucking game. If you think these guys are the same as ChatGPT, you're fucking wild. Maybe a futuristic ChatGPT, but current ChatGPT, get the fuck out of here. Next up, and I did just mention this, but do emotions make a real person? The ability to cry, the ability to laugh, the ability to feel love or care about somebody else, does that make you a real person? Because if so, Lunarian's got plenty of those. Did this guy just say fucking Lunarian? Like the come aboard and bring along all your hopes and dreams. Fuckhead ass. Like, did he really just say that? You mean Lumerian. You mean Lumerian. Fuck ass. Is it free will? The ability to question oneself and their judgment on different things. They're not just being mindlessly controlled by somebody. Because if we look in the world, there are the Nevron quests, for one, where not even all of the enemy types in the game want to battle you. You can look at more specifically the white Nevrons, you know, the Borgin, the Lamp Master, whatever it was, the Lamplighter. There was the trumpet guy who just wants to make his music better. But then you also have the big Hulkin guy in the esoteric ruins with the maze, where didn't even know they were a Nevron. They're just kind of a being living in the world. They didn't even know that they're like supposed to be evil. Or you have the one guy, I can't remember the enemy type, but it's in the floating cemetery where he's like, pick for me a hammer, a spear, or a sword, whichever it was. And he's like, there's something in me telling me that I'm supposed to kill, but I don't want to do that. That's some free will right there. That's some free will. And then obviously the obvious one, just anybody in Lumiere. I mean, you even had people like saying they didn't like the expeditions. You had people saying you loved the expeditions. You had, complex thoughts with all that. I know Maelle is maybe like an exception to this rule, but for the first 16 years, she didn't have her memories. So you could easily say she also had free will there and had the free will enough to say, I want to go on the expedition. What was it? 15 years earlier than I'm really supposed to be going. Or not 15 years earlier, but you know what I mean. Is it a soul that makes somebody a real person? I know the concept of a soul, especially in reality, is kind of like its whole own philosophical argument right there. But you could argue that the chroma in this game is what constitutes a soul. I mean, when people get gomaged, their chroma disappears, like thinking like their soul disappears. While when you go to the island and they get killed, the chroma stays in their body, like their soul is restricted to their body. So if you think about chroma in that sense as a soul, then you could easily say, yeah, they have a soul. And then if you believe a soul is what makes a real person, there you go. Again, a soul is like a whole other philosophical debate, so that's a whole nother topic there. But if you believe in a soul, does the soul make a real person? And going into the next big question here, if they are real people, if you do consider them real, should a god just be allowed to kill off an entire world of their sentient, real people creations? Now, part of this does tie into the entire theory of simulation theory. For anybody that does not know what simulation theory is, go watch The Matrix, or there was that one Rick and Morty episode of them in an alien spaceship where it was just simulation theory after simulation theory. Or I think Inception technically like touches on it as well. But how simulation theory kind of works is take our world. Our world is a simulation. Take me, take you, take your friend who's on the side licking your fucking genitals. We are all super advanced AI. We are just machines programmed by whoever is controlling the simulation. And that is very much reflected in this game. I mean, simulation theory is right there, with the painters being the creators and the painted being, in the simulation, the canvas being the entire simulation. And you can think about it like simulation theory, absolutely. But one problem with it is in simulation theory, there is something called the breaking point. My mic cut out during recording. So the breaking point is essentially the point at where the line of seemingly real and the line of actually real starts to blur and merge and essentially become identical to each other. This is especially true for the people that are within the simulation. They really feel that it is a real world. And you can even extrapolate that out to us in the real world right now. We believe, like I said, that this is the real world, that this is our universe. But what if one day there's just somebody who's like, oh, by the way, this is a simulation. We're going to shut it down. So not only do you have to come to terms with, are you a real person or not? You also have to come to terms with, we're probably going to fucking die. But then again, is it really death if we're not real people? And this whole part is where I kind of start to be like, yeah, I don't want to fucking die. And you know what? Let me tie that point into the last one of what makes a real person. The fear of death. Does fearing death make you a real person? I know there's, extreme cases of people who are like so devoid of the idea of death that they're just like, sure, I'll die. And, suicide is a whole thing. But that we're moving that to the side right now. Like, there's extreme examples for everything that we have here, where obviously there's at least one person in the world who thinks this way or that way, but we're not going with those outliers right now. Now back to the question at hand, and back into more game terms, back into Expedition 33 terms. if the painters wanted to destroy the canvas, should they really be allowed to? Or at the very least, if they're going to, do they have to realize they're killing off sentient, real people? They might not be real in their world sense, but it is very much a real world in the expeditioner's sense. In the Lumiere's sense, that is very much a real world to them. So I think how you think about this question definitely is your perspective on it. Because even us in the real world, we obviously think about simulations kind of like, why do we care about that? But then we go and we think of like heaven and stuff for a lot of us, where we're just like, I can't even really comprehend that. Why would I care about heaven? This isn't trying to become into like a religious argument. Let's not get into that. I'm not knowledgeable enough for that, but it's the general idea. So yeah, if any non-specific God wanted to just destroy our world, would you just be okay with that? Thinking about it from the perspective of we've been playing this game in the canvas as Lumerians, yeah, I don't want that world to be destroyed. The editing fuck. But you can even think about some of these like other fictional worlds that we talk about and look at, and like how gods are there with Marvel. Just because the Celestials created life, created the world, they're now coming in to try and destroy it. We're cool with that. Everybody's just allowed to be okay with that. Or not allowed, everybody should just be okay with that. Literally, the entirety of the God of War series is us going up against gods who are trying to do, not exactly do, but they're kind of doing whatever they want with the humans. I mean, in the first game, it's Ares killing all the humans. He's a god. Is it okay for Ares to kill everybody just because he fucking wants to? No. And in literally quite the same vein, there's fucking Ashura's Wrath, and like basically a God of War clone. They're very similar to each other. I wouldn't say a clone, but Ashura's Wrath is basically the same thing. Gods trying to fuck with the world and destroy it. Are we just okay with that? And the general sense with a lot of these other stories is the gods are kind of fucking evil here. We don't fuck with the gods on this. Like, we are not with them. We're with Kratos. We're with Ashura. We're with the fucking Marvel, like, hero universe. We're not with the Celestials. Like we are like quite literally almost never on the side of the gods when it comes to destroying the fucking world. And you could say, oh, but those guys are real. Those guys are real. At the exact same time, you could say, well, the gods created them. So technically, are they not real? They're not real. The gods can just make another world. They're not real. Like, this is the one story where we're like, oh yeah, this is okay, where we can, you know, let everybody that we've been playing the game with just die. We don't like them anyway. What? And we're going to touch a little bit more on that in a second, but I do want to bring up this other, like, big question next. Does a creator have a right to their work, especially after death? Because here's the thing, Verso's soul is the one that is keeping the canvas up. In a literal sense, if Verso's soul is still in there, the canvas can stay up. If Verso's soul dies out, the canvas gets destroyed, or they can just destroy it physically in the other world. So does Renoir, Eileen, and Alicia, or Clea, do they have the right to say what happens to the canvas even after Verso dies, especially when you can go in and ask Verso? Or does Verso have the complete right to do whatever he wants with his canvas? You know, real life to the side. Does he have a choice, and does he get to choose what happens with it? All right, the next big question, kind of tying it back to before about my perspective being we've been playing in this world, and from the perspective of a Lumerian, and that's how I'm kind of seeing the world. We've been playing the game through what we have perceived as the real world for 80% of the game. Like, most of the game, up until quite literally Act 3, it was our entire goal, our mission, to defeat the Paintress, stop that whole operation, to save humanity. It was also learning about the world, the characters, their relationships, their cultures, everything there. Like, that is the world that we have been in for, again, 80% of this game. Technically, we were in it for 100% of the game, but we just didn't realize it was not the real world for 80% of it. So when I'm thinking about this stuff, I'm thinking about it from the perspective of, well, this is the world that I've been in for 80% of the game. These are all the characters. This is where they live. If the canvas gets destroyed and we lose all of these characters, why would I care about a world that I just found out about 5 minutes ago? Like, why would I care about that world? Especially when that world is perfectly safe, by the way. There is nothing going to be wrong with that world. So when they don't really have anything to lose and we have a shitload to lose, why would I care about that world? And I think that's where, like, it kind of baffles me, really, is that so many people apparently just switched up as soon as they realized that this isn't the real world. Like, we didn't just go through the entire game with all these characters. Like, we didn't just bond with a lot of them. Maybe you did some of the relationship quests during the camp. Like, we didn't just play the entire game with these characters, and all of a sudden you're like, fuck them, they're not real. What? Kind of, where the empathy thing comes in a little bit for me. And kind of staying on that, why the fuck do we care about the Dessendre family? Why the fuck do we care about this family that we just found out, like, all the lore and information about 5 fucking minutes ago? Because before Act 2 Epilogue, we didn't know jack shit about this family except from, like, the father, the brother. Technically, Alicia, we knew a little bit of from her painted version. We knew very little about this, and I'll bring it up in the next big question about some of that, but we don't know jack shit about these guys until the last 20% of the game. And what do we learn about them? That Renoir and Aline are just fucking hate each other. Literally, it is stated that they argue in paintings all the fucking time, just going in there just to argue and fuck with each other. And then after Verso's death, they went into his canvas, which they've been in for the longest, like, argument time, and just battling each other instead of coming to their own grief. And also, yes, while you can say they are in Verso's canvas to, deal with the grief of him dead and everything, they're also technically then disgracing his last fucking work of art. They are literally, like, fucking with and smearing his last piece of life. They're fucking with it. They're disgracing it. Maybe unintentionally. But still, like, that is Verso's last piece. That is the last piece of Verso right there, and they're fucking with his world. Like, they're so dysfunctional that they can't even take the last piece of Verso that they have and just keep it. They have to fully get rid of Verso to get rid of the grief. Clea is like an isolationist, and, like, even in Verso's ending, you can clearly tell she does not care about this family. Maybe that's a little bit strong, but, like, she's not as in with the family as I think she is trying or supposed to be let off as. Like, in Verso's ending, she literally just walks away from the family, I guess, to go back and try and fight against the writers again, because that is something that she's been doing. But, like, she's not spending the time with her family. And then Aline, after that fire, just started completely isolating and alienating Alicia and basically throwing her to the side. And you could call me a sucker. Ladies call me the heartthrob, per scripture. But I literally just went back to watch Verso's ending again to make sure that I was so fucking right about this. With the exception of Clea, Renoir and Aline don't even look at Maelle during that funeral the entire fucking time. So Maelle comes back to reality to get through with her grief, to reconnect the family as Verso wanted, and at best, Renoir and Aline get back together and they figure their shit out. But at least at the time of the funeral, Aline can't even look at Maelle. Alicia, whatever the fuck. She can't even look at Alicia. I think Alicia gave her one glance where she did not glance back. There was even a point where they showed Alicia staring at the tomb while overlooking Renoir's shoulder, kind of showing, hey, I'm not even looking at them right now. I'm just looking at Verso. She's also standing off to the side, not with Renoir and Alicia. Hell, Clea is still off to the side for most of it, doesn't even go up to them. She's still being a fucking isolationist. Again, Renoir and Aline, sure, they're fixing themselves right there. Clea's still off in this fucking place. Alicia's still over here. They're not fucking coming together, at least at this point. Maybe in the future they do. That's an assumption that they're not going to. But they're not fucking healing. They're not fucking healing. Like, Alicia doesn't go over to hug them. They don't hold hands. Like I said, they don't even give each other a glance. They don't even talk to each other. There is no healing going on right now. And while, yes, this is a video game, it is not uncommon in real life where after the death of somebody, people just stop talking to each other. Family starts blaming each other for shit, especially with this, where Aline kind of blames Alicia for the writers tricking her into starting the fire, which killed Verso. She still clearly holds some fucking animosity. She clearly still holds some animosity or some anger, some hatred towards her for that, if that is true. So Maelle is selfish for going back and having to deal with her grief and fix the family. They're not even trying to fix it themselves. None of them are trying to fix it. So we just learned about this new family and all the lore behind them 5 minutes ago, and they are dysfunctional as fuck. Also remember, the world that we've been playing through this entire time is all fucked up because of the rest of this family. Literally, if they had never come into the world, it would have been perfectly fine. The entire reason we have all the problems that we're going through in the game is because of Aline, is because of Renoir, and they're bitching at each other. That is why we are going through everything in the game. It is their fault we're doing this. And like I said earlier, it's a little bit crazy to me that everybody all of a sudden switched up because they realized, oh, there's this family that's fucking with each other. It is dysfunctional as fuck and everybody hates each other. I'm rooting for them. What? I didn't do it. The child porn's on another computer. Now, this is the way that they're all going through their grief and everything. This is the way that they are going through it, trying to heal and then trying to move forward after the canvas. But again, if you think about this world of having real people where everybody in this life matters and they have, you know, a right to fucking life, then everything the Dessendre family is doing is absolutely fucking horrendous. It is literally two gods who are pissed at each other, so they're involving humans. Like, there are stories about this in real life, about gods fighting each other and involving humans. That shit sucks. Now let's look at this outside of the fact that they are real people, because we both disagree on that. Why the fuck do you care about this family? And there's even other problems with this if you want to go down Assumption Road with Verso's ending that I will get into later. It's not going to be all sunshine and roses if you want to go down Assumption Road. Also, Renoir killed Gustave. I feel like right there you should automatically be like, oh, fuck this guy. Also technically killed Lune and Shuold before, you know, Maelle brought them all back. So again, why the fuck are we rooting for this guy? He killed Noko, Minoko, and SKU like Renoir. Fucking why? Now, kind of tying this back to the last question, again, we need to touch on the entire Dessendre family here. Verso ain't fucking left in the dust. Verso came and lied to us throughout the entire game, manipulated us through most of the game. At the absolute least, you can say that he just withheld or stretched the truth, which is some bitch-made shit, especially when you understand he was thinking about killing all of them. Again, if you think about this entire world with they are real people, Verso was going to willingly kill all these people, and even the ones that he was getting freaky with. He was getting it on with Shuold and a little bit with Lune, so clearly they were real enough to get a little frisky, but nah, they can still die. They're good to go. I mean, even in Verso's ending, the whole scene with Shuold holding out her hand, maybe you can interpret that as her accepting him. You can also interpret that as her form of disappointment in him. And then Lune just sitting there looking at him like, I knew you, motherfucker. I had you clocked from the first second. I knew you would fucking betray us. And probably the gravest sin, his gravest fucking sin, is that he probably could have saved Gustave. He let him die. Renoir pulled the trigger, but Verso didn't enable the safety. Like, with this point, you could say, well, maybe he was really just a little bit too late to be able to actually save him. You could say that. But you could also just as easily say, he waited until Gustave died so that he could go and manipulate Maelle into helping him with destroying the canvas. Again, these are assumptions. We don't know. And another fact that I am going to say it, but there are also, like, you know, other nuances with this, is that even in Act 3, he still tried to stop Renoir, like not the painted Renoir, the real Renoir, who also wanted to destroy the canvas, doing almost exactly what Verso wanted to do the entire time as well. Like, would have made a lot more sense for the final battle to be Verso and Renoir versus our group. Now, like I said, there is some nuance with this. I've seen some people say that, especially with that last fight, the entire reason Verso didn't side with Renoir was because maybe he was feeling a bit more of a, like, sibling bond with Alicia over his parental bond with Renoir there. So he decided, I'm going to side with my sister here and put that over my want to destroy the canvas. I've also seen some people say, well, with the way that Renoir was going about destroying the canvas, Verso didn't know if Alicia would be able to still make it out. She might still die within the canvas, which is a big assumption. We don't know if this is some SAO shit, you die in the game, you die in real life type shit. Or if it's like a regular video game, you die in the canvas, your mind just gets ejected back out to the real world. Like, we don't know exactly how that works, so that is an assumption as well. But at face value, you can take it as, well, Renoir was already going to kill everybody and destroy the canvas. why wouldn't Verso just work with him? Again, at face value, that is what it is looking like. Poopy time. Poopy time. Poopy time is over. All right, next big question here, or next, big topic, I guess you could say, is why is Alicia keeping Verso's soul alive? Now, on the surface, the answer is fucking obvious, because she wants to keep the canvas up, like, fucking no doy. But the entire reason that, Aline had Verso's soul kept within the canvas was obviously to keep it up, but also to help satisfy her own grief. So why does Alicia keep it up? Well, I do believe that part of it is definitely for that grief. I think that's even a little more obvious when we see that there's a repainted Verso. So there's probably some of that, she doesn't want to deal with the grief of losing him, so she's just repainting him and keeping his soul alive. But the other part is that she wants to, again, protect the world she's been in for 16 years. You destroy the soul, you destroy the canvas, and let's take our mind out of this. What would Alicia or Maelle be thinking? Oh shit, the people I've been living with for the last 16 years are going to fucking die if I let this go. So she holds onto the soul. She is able to protect all the people that's been living there for the past 16 years. And she's able to bring back some of the people that have been gommaged unfairly, if you want to say that, such as Shuold's husband, Sophie, and she was even able to bring Gustav back. So now she is able to protect them and at the very least let them live their lives. All right, the next big question or big topic here. In Alicia's ending, does she rule like a goddess / dictator? We don't fucking know. Everything you hear about, like, how she rules the fucking world afterwards is very much assumption, especially when you say that, oh, she's an evil dictator with it. Not everybody says that, but I've seen a good few people say that, oh, Maelle is evil. She's despicable for this. Now, what she does do is that she recreates everybody. Obviously, she repaints Sophie, Shuold's husband, Gustav, and everybody else who was unfairly gommaged by Renoir. And that's kind of it. We don't know how she repainted everybody. We don't know how repainting them actually works. Again, we don't know too much about how being a painter fucking works. We don't know if it's her repainting everybody based on her own memories and how she remembers them, which I would say that's probably false, because how the fuck is she going to do that for every single person in Lumiere? Which, looking at Alicia's ending, you can see there's a lot more than like 20, 30 people there. Maybe she did it right before they gommaged or right before they died. That's a possibility. Maybe she repainted them to how they were fucking 5 years ago. We don't know. That is all up to assumption. So again, just as easily as you can assume that she fucking turned everybody into an actual NPC, she could have easily just turned everybody into who they fucking were beforehand. Now, there is the whole idea of, well, if they aren't the same, are they still real? If you repaint them, does that technically just make them a clone of who they were before? And so many stories in media have touched on if a clone can be considered the real thing, the real replacement. So many stories have gone over that. But I guess that is another question you got to throw in here. She repainted everybody. Even if she does it basically to perfection, are they still considered the same person? Again, that's a whole other philosophical question there that is like, that's a whole other thing there. Next part of this is that everybody looked happy. With the exception of Verso, I will get into that. Everybody looked happy. Lune, Shuold, Gustav's disciples, Gustav and Sophia. I know we only got a quick shot of Minoko and Eske, but they didn't exactly seem like they were, in fucking agony. Everybody seemed pretty happy. In fact, more happy than they seemed. Again, Lune seemed like she was fucking over the moon. Again, you can assume, oh, maybe she just made it so she twisted people's memories so that they're always happy. You could also very just easily say, people are happy now that they don't have to worry about dying within a few years. Again, we don't fucking know. Now, I will say, obviously, the repainted Verso did not look super enthused to be there. But a few points to that. If he wasn't super enthused, I would say that might be that she can't reconstruct memories, or not reconstruct. She can't fuck with people's memories because it seems like Verso kind of remembers everything. Otherwise, I would assume she would just construe his memories so that nothing of all of that fucking happened. If she's so self-absorbed and so evil that she wants everybody to be happy like that, why would she not also make Verso happy like that? But it also looks like she took off the immortality. It is my personal headcanon that the scar that was on both painted Renoir and painted Verso is kind of like the mark of immortality. And we see that painted Verso no longer has that scar. He has a white beard. He's aging. So while yes, he is still technically living, he is able to live a normal life. He does not have to fight Renoir anymore. He does not have to worry about any of that. He could just live a simple life, chill with Maelle, and all of that. I know that is also, you know, like stepping away from the whole Alicia not overcoming her fucking grief thing, but like we're not right there right now. So will she rule as a goddess / dictator? I guess technically you could, the same way fucking Superman can if he really wanted to. The same way like any reality bending person can just fucking do whatever they want. The same way any god could just do that if they wanted to. Sure. Does that make every god bad? No. Does that make Superman bad? No, it's their actions and what they do with their power. And from what we see in the ending, and how we have followed Maelle, if you played the game with the audio on and you've watched the cutscenes, I would say Maelle isn't going down that path anytime soon at the very least. Maybe in the future, the grief can overtake her more and that's where she gets misconstrued. That's another assumption, though. That's just another assumption. Another point here is when Alicia dies, everybody else in the canvas will probably die too, or Renoir will just destroy the canvas, so everybody's going to die anyway. So why the fuck would we choose her? We bought her a few more years. I don't think you remember exactly how many years these people were in this canvas. First of all, the entire point of the expeditions, again, going off from how Maelle has lived there for 16 years, this was kind of her mission for the second half of her life, was to protect the world and the people in it. And not only protect them, defeat the Paintress so that they could live a longer life. They would not have to fear about dying in 5 years, 3 years. They wouldn't have to like think about, oh, I'm getting to this age, I'm gonna die in a year. No, they can just live their life normally. They can die at an old age. They can live a nice long life with the people around them being able to also live a longer life. That is what she is doing. She is giving everybody around her that she knows a longer life. You also got to remember, this isn't just a few years she's giving everybody. Renoir was in the canvas for 67 years. Aline, I've seen, was in there for maybe 80, possibly longer. Like, the time ratio between the other world and the canvas is completely different. Time moves a lot faster within the canvas than it does in the other world. Because if it was really 1-to-1, Renoir was in there for 67 years. And Verso is, what, 20, 30 years old, which means in the real world, Renoir would be like fucking 90 or 100, and they do not look like they're supposed to be 90 or 100 in that fucking game. And actually, they would have to be even older because they're not fucking birthing Verso at the same time they get birthed. So they'd probably be like 100, 120 maybe, somewhere in there. So time does not flow 1-to-1. It might flow 1 day to 1 year in there. It might flow 1 hour to 1 year. We don't know. But we can tell that you're able to live in there for a long time, even though technically the painting and being in there for so long is speeding up them dying. It's just really speeding them up dying in the other world. And then if you really want to get technical about it, she can still leave the painting. She can still leave the canvas then at that point. So if she's feeling so bad she's dying, oh, I'll step out here for a minute. I'm all better. Let's step back in. Next up here is, why do they even have to destroy the canvas in the fucking first place? Outside of, you know, Verso's soul and putting that to rest, which, like I said, I believe that's really just more of a metaphor for letting the whole Dessendre family move on. Or Dessendre, whatever the fuck, I'm sorry. You know, only last 5 minutes of the game. I don't really care too much. But assuming that that's just a metaphor and you can just throw the canvas somewhere else, why would they not just move the canvas somewhere far fucking away? Because we don't actually know where the canvas is right now. All we know is that Clea and Alicia hit it somewhere, which we are assuming they hit it somewhere within the manor, which why the fuck did you hide it in the manor? Why would you not bury that shit? Why would you not put that somewhere else hidden the fuck away so that Renoir and Aline cannot get back to it? Because the entire reason that a lot of this is happening is Aline cannot get out of the canvas, that you want to destroy it because you believe if it's still out there, Aline will still go and find it and try to go back to the canvas. First of all, get her in a fucking mental institute. Second of all, just put the canvas somewhere else. I don't know how, we don't know Aline's power level in that world. We don't know how shit works in that world. But she's not some fucking CIA operative at what looks to be about 60, 70 years old who's going to go around doing heist missions to find this shit. Go dump it in the bottom of the ocean. Obviously preserve it, but go put it in the bottom of the ocean. Go bury it. Go put it somewhere else that she cannot get to and she doesn't know about. Don't just hide it in the fucking manner where she can easily walk around and try and find it. Like this, there's more than one solution here where you have to destroy the canvas or else the only thing that will happen is Aline will go and find it. No, there's multiple other options that you can fucking do with this. Again, if you believe the world is real like I do and you think these are real people, then you are just genociding the entire world and all of these people because you can't think of another solution and you can't just, not even trust in Aline, because I can understand not trusting in Aline not being able to go back and do it, but just forcefully keeping her the fuck away because you're too weak to be able to just keep your wife away, to keep your mom away from the canvas. What? Or too stupid to put it somewhere where she can't find it or can't go get it. I'm sorry, the fact that there is other easier, I would say, easier ways. Just get her out of the canvas, go hide it in some far off and fucking nowhere, and then we're peachy keen. But no. Let's genocide a bunch of people. They're not real. Nah, they're not real. Let's fuck them up. Like, holy shit. That wasn't even a point that I actually had in my script here. I just needed to get that off my chest because holy shit, the fact that people aren't able to think of any other fucking option, like this is the only option. Oh my God. Now let's say that it is the only option. Let's say for a second that is the only option. You have to destroy the canvas. And we go with Verso's ending, where they destroy the canvas, they're back in the other world. A lot of people just say, well, Alicia's a painter. She can just repaint everybody in another canvas. Can she? Again, we do not know how the fuck this painter power works. She might be able to do that. That's a possibility. But you got to remember here as well, she cannot take anything out of the canvas. It is just her mind being projected into the canvas. She's not physically going in there, so she can also not take anything out physically. And when you paint a canvas, you are putting part of your soul into the canvas, which means that Verso's canvas has part of Verso's soul in it. So, if Maelle went to do another painting, her soul would be in there. Does Alicia's soul, Maelle's soul, does that change how the workings of the painting are? And even then, in this case, it's like trying to reverse engineer a piece of technology without the blueprints, without the product, and without the original designer. You are just going off of fucking memory and your basic skills. Yeah, sure, not impossible. It's not going to be anywhere close to the original, though. It's literally like any copy ability in fucking anime, like with Kuroko's basketball. It can only be 99% as good as the original. Again, that's an assumption. We don't know if that's how the power works. But if it does work like that, they're not going to be exactly how they are there. Now, you can also take that and say, well, if Maelle is then painting them back in Verso's canvas, then they're not going to be one-to-one copies either. And for that, I could say, maybe that's a definite possibility as well. There's easily also the other possibility that she's in Verso's canvas who has the blueprints to everybody, who has the information on everybody, and has the chroma there. So you could say, well, if you reconstruct it from their chroma, then it is a one-to-one copy, but you can't carry the chroma over to another fucking canvas. Again, these are assumptions on my end, these are assumptions on their end. We don't know how this painter power really works, but they're all possibilities. Just as easily as you can say she can do it, is just as easily not do it. And the final big point I have here, let's assume for a second that she can. Let's assume for a second that Alicia can go create a new canvas. She puts a piece of her soul in it, but it will be exactly like Verso's canvas. That's just repeating the fucking cycle. Because here's the thing, she can recreate everybody, even Verso. Like, she can just make a painted version of Verso and might not have the piece of his soul in there, but it will still be Verso. In the same way that there was a painted Renoir and a painted Clea and a painted Alicia, there will just be a painted Verso in that other world, which means she recreates everybody in another canvas, even Verso. The cycle of grief still fucking repeats. She is still running away from the fact that Verso is dead in the other world. Like, even Aline can then go into that canvas and still run away from the fact that Verso is dead. She can still kill herself faster. She's still hiding from her family. She's still doing all of that. She is still playing God and being dictator in that canvas. The only difference would be is that Verso's soul is put to rest, which again, how I interpret it is that's just a metaphor to let the family move on. And if Alicia is not moving on, then what the fuck was the point of letting his soul be free? Like that's kind of where this like slippery slope of assumptions comes in with a lot of this. You assume how the painted power works, well then you can also assume that this is going to happen, and you can assume that this is going to happen. So does she really learn a lesson? Does she not? Can she do this? Can she not? Can they do this? Can they not? Like a lot of assumptions here that goes down a very slippery slope that does really not help either side. Because like I said, just as easily as it shifts it in one direction, you can easily say something that'll shift it possibly further in the other direction. So, is there a good or bad ending? Yes, the good ending is Alicia because you get Gustav back. Okay, in all seriousness, there is no good or bad ending. If you really want to get technical, they are both bad endings. But like I said before, it depends on what lenses you view them from. Depends on what your experiences are in life, how you view life, your morality, your ethics code. How you define all of that is what defines your choice here and who you would pick. Alicia or Verso. I think you can clearly tell throughout the entire video, like I understand this was very biased towards Alicia, but I believe the people are real in the painting. So I don't want to kill off everybody that is real in there. They're sentient. They have emotion. I don't want to kill them off like that. It's the world we have been playing in for 80% of the game, and I don't want to fucking save the dysfunctional whack-ass family we found out about 5 minutes ago, because why do I care about them? I don't care about them just because they are in the real world. Even if I do pick Verso, it could still just as easily go into Alicia's ending anyway, because she can just possibly recreate the whole world. Why do I like Verso? Because he's been lying to us the entire game. Also actively working to, again, kill off everybody that I know and I deem to be real. And Alicia's ending makes everybody happy. Everybody stays happy. So in my opinion, how I view everything, I like Alicia's side a little bit better. Again, that's not saying that it's the best. Again, depending on how you view it, that's the fucking worst. Now, I do understand that there are also problems with her side. Obviously, she's not facing her grief. She's keeping Verso alive. So there's no physical way for her to move on. Obviously, there are holes in her thing. Like, she can just stay out of the canvas as well. Keep the canvas alive. Keep it up. But just get Aline out of there and keep her away from it. Or only go back and visit every once in a while. Maybe she doesn't live in the canvas, but she can still go visit. Maybe that's where she just is for a lot of the time, but she can still come out of the canvas and be with her family, go through the grief. I understand that there are holes in it, but I align with her side a little bit more than I do with Verso's, if I'm just being honest. But you might align with Verso, and like I've said a few times now, that is perfectly fine. I think having these philosophical and moral and ethical debates are really fun for me because I like to see how other people think about things, whether I agree with them or not. And while I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm trying to, change your mind or whatever, it is still something where maybe you're not thinking about it the same way I am. Maybe I'm not thinking about it the same way you are. And that's just something that we can talk about and share our ideas. I like doing that. So if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you think there's something else that I haven't brought up that you would like to bring up, please throw it in the comments below. I always like reading the comments on all of these videos and just seeing what people are saying, whether good or bad, helps me make a better video in the future. And and I just like reading it. I like seeing support in, hate's fun too. My PC elitism videos were great for my mental health. I'm just kidding. They were fucking good. But please, let's have a civil discussion because real world, this is still a video game. Let's chill the fuck out a bit. This is still a video game. Let's chill out a bit. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being here. I am so excited. I'm so excited to continue making videos, talking about Clair Obscur, talking about other games. I love it. If you enjoy, please like, subscribe, again, leave a comment, and stay up to date. If you're interested, I also stream on this channel over on my Twitch, my TikTok, as well as my Kick. Please go check me out over there. I was going to be playing Doom the Dark Ages, and then my Elgato fucked up, so now I can't use my PS5 through the Elgato for some fucking reason. I don't know. It literally only lets me do it in 1080p. And that means I also have to play in 1080p on a 4K monitor, and respectfully, that hurts my eyes a little bit. I don't mean to be like elitist with that, but I've been playing at 4K for so long with the PS5. I switched to 1080p and I'm like, ew, what the fuck? So until I can get all of that fixed, I might try and go back to the PS3. I was able to get that done. So we'll go back to the God of Wars. We'll go back to all of that. I'll see if I can play any other PS3 games. hopefully I can get this fixed before the Nintendo Switch 2 drops so I can test out the 4K capabilities. If that doesn't work, hopefully I'll be able to just make it work in at least 1080p, since you guys can only ever see it in 1080p anyway. But I'll figure that out. I'm trying to get that worked out. I did order a few new parts, like a new CPU, a motherboard, and RAM, because it's been like 5 years. I need to update some of these parts. But hopefully that'll help fix the card. But go check me out there if you want to check out past streams. I also have a VOD channel linked down below that you can go check out old videos from there. And I will see you guys in the next video or on stream. Peace out. I love you guys. Thank you.